Hello learner, my name is Balam Dafauti and I am working with Uttarakhand Open University as an assistant professor in School of Computer Science and IT. Today we will discuss about some important concepts of final keyword, abstract keyword and static members in Java. So, after going through this video lecture, the learner will able to learn about the final keyword, about the abstract keyword, and about the static members in Java. So, first of all, we will know about the final keyword, what actually the final keyword in Java. Basically, the final keyword in Java is a non-access specifier that is used to restrict a class, variable and method. If we initialize a variable with the final keyword, then we cannot modify its value. If we declare a method as final, then it cannot be overridden by any subclasses. And if we declare a class as final, we restrict the other classes to inherit or extend it. In other words, the final classes cannot be inherited by other classes. So, this was a brief introduction about final keyword in Java. Now, the final keyword can be used in Java in three different ways. First, if I have a final variable. Second, if I have a method. Third, if I have a class. As earlier I have said, once a variable is declared as final, its value cannot be changed during the scope of the program. Second, if I have a final method, a method which is declared as final cannot be overridden. Third, if I have a final class, a class declared as final cannot be inherited. So, what is the final keyword in Java? We will discuss one by one with the help of example. First, we will take an example if we initialize a variable with the final keyword. In this example, we have created a class final variable. Suppose in this class we have a final variable which is integer I is equal to 10, and in this class we have also create a final constructor. Under this constructor, if I change the value of the variable I, it will show an error. In this program, I have called the constructor in the main method. When we compile the program, it will try to change the value of the variable I. When it will try to change the value of the variable, it will show an error because of we have declared the variable as final. So, this is about the example if we declare the variable as final. Similarly, we will take the second example of a final method. In this program, we have create a class final method which is called parent class. In this class, we have declared the integer variable which is I is equal to 10, and I have a method m1 which is declared as final, and we have also created a subclass child which extend the parent class which is final method. Similarly, in the child class we define a method m1. We also create the main class which name is final test. Under this main class we have create the object of the subclass, that is child C1 is equal to new child. When we compile the program, the object of the subclass to access the method M1, and when it try to override, it will gives an error because it cannot be override a method which is declared as final. So in this program, the method which is final and we are trying to override in the child class. It is not possible to override because M1 is declared as final in parent class. So this is all about the final method in Java. Similarly, we will take the third example of a final class. If I have a class which is declared as final, in this example, we have created a class final1. In this class final1, we have defined a constructor final1, and we have also created a class child which is extend class final1, and we have also defined a constructor which is child in the child class. We have also created an object of the child class which is child C1 is equal to new child in the main method. So in this program, if we trying to inherit the class final1 in the child class, it will give an error because of final keyword with the parent class. So this is about the final class. Now the next part that we have to cover in this lecture is abstract keyword. Using an abstract keyword, we can create abstract class and abstract method. In other words, the abstract keyword is a non-access modifier which is used for classes and methods. Let us first understand the concept of abstract class. What exactly an abstract class? A class which contains the abstract keyword in its declaration is called abstract class. There are some important points about the abstract class. You must know that. Number one, we cannot create an object for abstract class. Number two, it may or may not contain abstract method. It can have abstract class, abstract and non-abstract methods. To use an abstract class, you have to inherit it from subclasses. So, a class whose object cannot be created is called abstract class. We can only inherit the abstract class. So, let us understand with the help of an example. First, we create an abstract class which is animal, and we have also created the main class demo. In this class, we have also created an object of the animal class, that is animal r is equal to new animal. So when we compile the program, it will give an error because we cannot create the object of the abstract class as you can see in this example. We can only inherit or extend the abstract class. Let us understand with the help of example. We have created an abstract class animal which is called parent class, and we have also created a class elephant which extends the abstract class animal, and we have also created a main class demo in which we create the object of the abstract class animal which is a superclass. When we compile the program, it will be successfully run because any superclass has an ability to store the object of the subclass. So this is all about the abstract class. Now next is the abstract method. An abstract method can only be used in an abstract class and it does not have a body. A method which contains abstract modifier at the time of declaration is called abstract method. So there are some important points regarding to the abstract method. That is, number 1, abstract method can only be used in abstract class. Number 2, it does not contain any body. Number 3, abstract method must be overridden in subclasses. Otherwise, it will become an abstract class. Number 4, whenever the action is common but the implementation are different, then we use abstract method. So let us understand with the help of example. First, we have create an abstract class which name is programming. Under this class, we have defined an abstract method which is public abstract void developer. So in this class, first point you have to note that whenever we define any abstract method, the class must be abstract. Second point is that the method you have defined in abstract class it must be overridden in some subclasses. In this example, we have created a subclass HTML which is extend the parent class that is programming. So in this class we have to override the method developer. It will print the developer name of HTML as you can see in this example. We have also create a class Java which extend the parent class which is programming, right? We have also override the method which is developer. It will print the developer name of Java. And we have also create a main class that is main and create the object of HTML and Java class and call the method through the object of the class. So this is about the abstract method. We have seen that a class basically contains two sections. One declares variables and other declares methods. These variable and methods are called instance variable and instance methods. This is because every time the class is instantiated, a new copy of each of item is if of each of them is created. They are accessed using the object with dot operator. Let us assume that we want to define a member that is common to all the object and accessed without using a particular object. That each a member belong to the class as a whole rather than the objects created from the class. Such member can be defined as follows. Static int count. Count is an integer type variable which is static. Static int max. Max is a function in which we have passed two parameters which is integer x and integer y. The member that are declared static are called static member since these members are associated with the class itself rather than the individual object. The static variable and static methods are often referred to as class variable and class methods. In order to distinguish them from their counterparts, instance variable and instance methods. Static variables are used when we want to have a variable common to all instances of class. One of the most example is to have a variable that could keep a count of how many objects of a class have been created. You need to know that Java creates only one copy for a static variable which can be used even if the class is never actually instantiated. Like static variables and static methods can be called without using object. They are also available for use by other classes. Methods that are of general utility but do not directly affect an instance of that class are usually declared as class methods. Java class library contains a large number of class methods. For example, the math class of Java library defines many static methods to perform math operations that can be used in any program. Let us understand with the help of example. We have created a class which is math operation, in which we create a static float variable and multiplication function, in which we have passed two parameters, which is float x and float y, and return x into y. And we have also create static float variable and divide functions. We have passed two parameters, which is float x and float y, and return x divided by y. We have also created the main class, which is math application, in which we define two variables, which is float a is equal to class name, which is math operation, dot function name, which is mul multiplication, and two parameter, which is 4.0 into 5.0, and float b is equal to class name math operation dot functions name, which is divide, and pass two parameter float a comma 2.0, and finally we print b. When we compile and run the program, the output will be 10.0. So learner, you have to note that the static method are called using the class names. In fact, no object have been created for use. Static method have several restrictions. Number one, they can only call other static methods. Number two, they can only access static data. Number three, they cannot refer to this or super in this way. So there are some important points regarding the static member function that you must be remember. Number one, static members are those which belong to the class, and you can access these member without creating object. Number two, it's a class variable, not an instance variable. Number three, basically there are two types of variable. One is instance variable and another is class variable. The instance variable directly call through the object, whereas the class variable can be accessed only through the class name. So the next part is the static block, which is the part of the static members in Java. Static block is used for initializing the static variables. This block gets executed when the class is loaded in the memory. A class can have multiple static blocks which will execute in the same sequence in which they have been written into the program. In other words, Java static block is used to initialize the static data members. The static block is executed before the main method at the time of class loading. So let us take an example of single static block. We have create a class Java example. Under this class we have created a static block, and after that we have also create main block. So in this program the static block get executed first, after that the main block will be executed, as you can see in this example. So let us conclude what we have learned in this lecture. We have learned about the final keyword that can be used in Java in three different ways. If I have a final variable, if I have a final method, if I have a final class, and also learn about the abstract keyword which can be used to create abstract class and abstract method. And finally we have learned about the static members, in which we learn about static variables and static methods and static block. So learners, that's it for today lecture. Thank you very much.